So let's talk about some other things. First of all, let's recap the reed case video.
Okay.
So like my experience, it's been
A few months.
A few months I've been using your reed cases exclusively, and my reeds have been more consistent than they've ever been in my life. Like it's been like the reeds that I get out of the case the next day, the same reed that I put in. And oftentimes, in my life, I take a reed out and it's not at all the same area. I mean, all the outside features of how it fits in my case and how it feels in my hands and how it looks, I love it. And I mean, they come in all these different colors, which I just want to go ahead and make you don't have to say it. You can't really special order these colors. You just sell the ones that happen to be in the colors you have in stock. Right?
Yes, right. They're impossible to know what you're going to get from case to case when you make them because of the manufacturing process.
Right, but they're all beautiful. I mean, like I get here and I think to myself, my daughter would love this rainbow case. Like this isn't really a rainbow because it's not Roy G. Biv, but
there's one down there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I knew that there was one here. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's amazing. But like that's beautiful. So there's all that, and then to me the interesting thing was to experience the reeds are suspended, like these design things that are supposed to have a function in terms of how the reed plays, to like go from a notion to actually like in real life, like now when I'm panicked and I need another reed in the water so that I can I play because I've made a bad choice in my reed, or I don't like something. The reeds don't take very long in the water to be ready to play, and they play like I remember them playing the last time I put them in.
I mean, that's a real win in the world of reed play.
No, it is. It's
Can
huge.
I speak a little bit about the rails?
Please. Yeah.
So back when I was in college, I remember my clarinet teacher at the time, Bill Jackson. I went to his house for a lesson, and he had his reeds out, and they were all sitting instead of flat side down on the table. He had his reed bench and reeds station, and instead of like I was always just put my reeds flat side down because it makes sense, flat on flat. And he had all sitting upside down on his table, and I asked him, "What's that about?" And he said, "Well, if they're upside down, the reed can dry out evenly, and it helps reduce the possibility that it will warp." Oh, cool. Okay, so whenever I put a reed on a table, I put it upside down, but that's not everything, right? We store our reeds in most cases have flat surface. Right. So when I was developing my reed case, the first thing that we did was we had a flat surface and we perforated it. Right. Thinking, okay, the Bovita pack will give aeration so that even though it's on a surface, the Bovita two-way humidity pack will provide enough equilibrium in its atmosphere to eliminate the warp. And sure enough, it did. I was very pleased. But then right before we decided to go to market with them for a conference in Texas in February, just like a light bulb went off. Other reed cases, they're not perforated, which I was proud of, but they have troughs. What are those little troughs for? Well, to try to give the reeds some aeration breathing room, which I don't think is particularly effective. It's not as effective as the perforation. So I thought I was winning there, but why not do the opposite of troughs? Add rails. Yeah. And so lift the reed up so that the vamp, the part that typically really is the warpful part of a reed, the blade, is suspended in air. And there's no flat surface that, as the reed gently dries to its resting level of humidity, 72% in my case, there's nothing that it can warp against. It can just come to its natural, relaxed state of being. Right. And it was sort of a light bulb moment. And I had made a bunch of reed cases without rails that were perforated, just only perforated. And we just decided, okay, those work. Let's do the railed version. And sure enough, I think it works even better. And then now we're selling off the non-railed version at a discount because this is the new thing we're doing.
As somebody who is willing to investigate any new product made for the clarinet, it's unusual to see something I've never seen before. Here's an idea that actually it's different and it makes sense. And then after using the reed cases for months,
Pans out.
It works.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's never happened before.
I mean, I tell people now, it'll de-warp your reeds. It will take the warp out of your reeds. Why? Because I'm so confident in my own experience. I use these cases, right? And I feel like I don't have warped reeds. I don't have warping problems. Sure, a young reed it needs a little time to break in, to settle, to cure. Once it's past that wild adolescence, it becomes a responsible adult reed citizen, and it's day to day, it's pretty reliable.
Right.
The thing is with cane reeds is you're playing, well, with any reed, you're just playing the odds. And the more well-playing reeds we can get out of a box from when we first play it to when it's dead, the better. You'll save money and you save hassle.
Yeah.
And you can have more time just playing and making music and having fun.
That's been the experience that I've had. I mean, like when I'm down in the pit playing something, and for whatever reason I don't like it, whether the ceiling's too low, there's something I don't really, whatever, all the things that, actually I'd love to hear your experience with that. I'll ask you that in a second. But and I need to change reeds. It's incredible to have confidence in what I want to pull out of the case and be able to do it. Because I remember we had a conversation where I was laughing, whenever it's time to change reeds in a performance, it's like pulling the emergency brake.
Yeah, you've got Beethoven 6 coming up in 10 bars and you're changing reeds. You're doing it because you know that reed is going to help you on Beethoven. You got to know what you're going to get.
Right. That's a big deal. This is way off any sort of plan we had. But what is your experience with playing with places, like having a reed that you have worked on at home in a particular environment, whether you have carpet, don't have carpet, how high the ceiling is. We're sitting in a room with a very high ceiling and carpet, which is much different than playing with a wooden floor. And I go into situations where sometimes I'm on a stage, sometimes I'm in a pit, sometimes there's carpet, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's a stand with a bunch of stuff, a bunch of boxes.
I can boil it down really simple.
Please.
There's just basically trends.
Right.
For example, the most live kind of space might be like a hotel bathroom, a really ritzy hotel where it's just tile and high ceilings.
Right.
Well, everything's reflective, hard reflective surface. I just touch the reed, ding, and it's echoing for a long time. No matter how hard the reed, it still feels soft.
Right.
Because I'm trying to temper things, bring it in, need working resistance to feel safety. The opposite, take that exact same setup and go to an open field with no tree or any hard surface or anything.
Right.
It's going to feel quiet, a lot softer sounding, and a lot more resistant. Interesting how your space around you can dictate the resistance you feel as a player. And that resistance, I think, in part is coming from everything is so dead that if you go in those Wenger studios, those tiny little rooms, I feel like I leave a practice session and my face hurts. I'm much more tired, fatigued, because I'm trying to put the focus in the sound that's absent the room.
Right.
Ratcheting it, the embouchure, playing, whatever. Does that make sense? Does it ring true to your experience?
Yeah, for sure.
So, how do you temper your reed choice, mouthpiece choice for your environment? Well, the truth is, one setup will probably work for most pretty well, but it's nice to have some choices in the extremes. I play orchestra, so I cultivate maybe a little bit brighter, sound than I would if I'm doing recitals.
Right.
So I would have I think a different mouthpiece for those two types of playing.
Right. Talk to me about your reeds.
Two different kinds of reeds. The aria reed was the first one that I started with, and I think of them as, I've been a career-long reed maker, and my goal was, when I started making reeds for sale, is to find a way to, I'm privileged to really know what a great reed playing experience can be, because I make them from tube canes.
Right.
And I think that I've gotten into reeds a little bit more than some, and so I've had a lot of interesting experiences that I can fall back on in my memory. So how can I give that experience, the best of a good homemade reed, to my customers? That's what aria is. And that's really different than what any other reed on the market is. A good French reed has the score, it has zinging vitality and density in the sound because the cane is harder. And so some of those customers, when they play my reeds, my homemade reeds, they find them, they're kind of easy and different, and they don't quite know how to handle. So I made the Brio to be a really good French reed, what we all know.
Right.
So it's sort of a hybrid, I think, between the shape of a blue box and a V12, add a little bit more fineness to the tip.
So you're making these reeds in your shop?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm working with 2 different reed manufacturers that make my reeds on my design.
Okay. Because that would seem like a terrible way to make money.
Yes, it would.
It would seem like it would be very bad. In order to make money, you
I would
have
have
to charge
to
a lot of money for reeds.
sell my reeds for a lot of money.
I'm sure
they're already kind of a lot of money.
Right.
I started with a fixed length barrel, and I still sell those, called the Evo barrel, in the classic and the svelte. The svelte, like a svelte form, is lean and figured, and it looks kind of hourglass shaped. And they share the same bore. The classic is just a normal barrel shape, but they have the same bore. The mass being different because of the skinniness of the svelte. They have different blowing resistances.
Right.
Who do? And then basically the svelte is a little faster, a little bit bigger center, middle core, and a little bit freer blowing. Right. And the classic is maybe you could say a little darker, a little more tighter, a little more resistant, tighter core. 4 years ago, we were building our factory, and we realized, okay, I'm choosing how to opt my CNC machines. I ought to make the machine able to do a lot of different things. What happens if I want to make a clarinet? What happens if I want to make a barrel that's adjustable?
Right.
So I was very careful in how I chose the lathe in particular that could have live tooling and subspindle and all sorts of features so that we could do adjustable barrels. And there are 3 components: the bottom half, the top half, and the metal or hard rubber center ring, and with the knurls and the threading. And there's some milling features in the inside, which is a trilobular fitment feature, which allows the 2 halves to keep from twisting when you turn the ring.
Right.
And the thing that was interesting, I started with, let's just do the Evo fixed bore taper and stick it in my adjustable barrel, and it was good. I was very pleased with it. But then I started thinking, okay, I should experiment with things, and so I ultimately came with a bore that is different. It's smaller in some areas and bigger in other areas. Idea being, how can I keep that core focused to let the clarinetist relax more and be more comfortable into the playing experience, but have the barrels still maintain a spread-free tone, a proper tone.
Right.
And so that's what I think this barrel particularly does really well. Is it's not just a tuning barrel. It doesn't go from 63 to 68 only, but it has really good sound. It has really good acoustics. What do I mean? You can relax into the sound more because it focuses more, and so you get more comfort and a good proper resonance.
Before you put it down, talk to us about like so this goes from 63 to 68?
Yeah, 5 millimeter range of motion.
Okay, so
you can play at a cold church on Sunday morning and still be not flat.
Well,
at least not too much.
And so as you twist this, I'm looking at this like it's a Martian. So as you twist it, how is it that there's the way I understand this is that there's no gap anywhere on the bore of it. Is that what's happening?
Almost. So there are a few things that are unique to this design. One is that because it's made out of my hard rubber material, I can make the internal bore wall thickness very thin without worry of it cracking. Whereas wooden barrels, you need wall thickness to create stability, from dimensional stability because of the X and Y axes expanding and contracting at different.
You just went over my pay grade. I can't.
Well, if you look at a wooden barrel, there's a grain, right?
Yeah.
And so if I look at it in this orientation, it will expand, say at 5 pounds per square inch pressure, and if I rotate it 90 degrees, it'll expand at 20 pounds per square inch pressure because the grain is tauter. It's stronger on one axis of orientation. Basically, wooden bores of clarinets become ovoid over time.
Right.
Whereas a synthetic material, this being my hard rubber material,
Right.
maintains its dimensions for life.
Right.
So as it expands with thermal expansion and contraction, at least it does it in a even and uniform way. And I can temper my bore. I can voice the bore for a barrel that is at warmed up temperature. I did that. This barrel, when you come to the table and you try 10 barrels, make sure you get it a little bit warmed up because it will play a little different. Better, I think, after you put a little air in there because it's expanded just a little bit to my optimum dimension. You feel as you turn the ring, there's a little point of resistance.
Yeah, I felt that the stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
Yeah, and that's what I call haptic feedback. Every point of tension and release is 1/2 millimeter change in the overall length of the barrel. So at 63 millimeters, when it's entirely closed, say I want to start at 65 millimeters because I'll just turn it 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 half-millimeters equaling. Now I'm at 65. So you can have a mental awareness just by how it feels while you're in orchestra of your number, if that's how you like to play. Right. Some people are like, I don't need to know what my number is. I just listen. Am I flat? Am I sharp? Well, that's fine too. But I think it's nice to know everything. What's my number? And I can also align the logo of the on the ring
Right.
against the register key and have a visual awareness of where I am.
That's great.
So the bore, people say, is it a Manning style bore or something? No, it's a Brad bore. But I played Manning barrels before I made this, before I made my own barrels.
Right.
So I like Manning barrels. I just like the Brad bore better. Does that sound arrogant? Please cut that out.
Well, I mean, if you didn't like it, that'd be a real problem.
Yeah, I mean, the Manning bore was meant to help focus the sound and also help the intonation, the wide 12ths of the upper left hand on the R13s and such of that era. And, that isn't such a profound need anymore.
Well, I mean, definitely clarinets have changed since then.
Yeah.
And mouthpieces have changed since then.
Yes.
So like there's a lot of differences in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't to dismiss the success of a Manning bore. I mean,
I think a lot of people still they shoot for that. Yeah, because it's good. It's an effective barrel.
And your reed cases make a very adequate microphone holder.
That's right, a little janky. Janky, but
I call it MacGyvery. But
MacGyvery, yes, right. What does the word janky actually mean?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Just in case I leave this in the video, this is
3 reed cases. This one's the bass clarinet.
3 reed cases with a cup with a hole in the bottom. Yeah. So we did it. Thanks,
Well
Brad.
done. Yeah.
All right.